welcome to another episode. I would say episode 2 of Dad Squad Solutions. Again, we have myself, TK, Chad, and Kai. We are ready to get into another dynamic conversation about what it means to be a dad. So let's just kind of reflect on what we did last time, right? So we were talking about in the beginning,
Right.
who was the biggest influencer in a boy's life, talking about their fathers. And we discussed a little bit about our dads and the experiences that we had. But now we're going to kind of dive in a little bit more. Breaking cycles. So what would it look like if we were to dissect what our fathers did and kind of classify it as, say, a generational pattern? If I was to challenge you to say, what is something that you actually appreciated about what they did, maybe in the past or even currently, what is one thing that you would say you will never do? And then lastly, if you could just tweak one thing about your dad, what would it be?
So if I were to only choose one thing, right, there are several, but I can only think of one. I think the most recurrent pattern in his life that somehow made its way a little bit into me sometimes is he would always, think of something to complain about. If there's something good, oh, there must be something wrong with that. If a person is nice, oh, that person must have an ulterior motive, why is there traffic? Why are all these people out there? And I don't want to follow that because, of course, we do recognize that there are negative things in life, but I think it's our response that matters, right? We can turn it around. We can actually give ourselves a fresh lens, and that's going to really help us, live a better life, not only for ourselves, but for our future generations.
When I see people talk about pessimism, I wonder, do you think that pessimism is a completely bad mentality to have, or is there some positives to pessimism?
I think there's a fine line between being realistic, being careful, and being pessimistic. Take, for example, if we were to go hiking, right? And obviously, hiking has its own intrinsic risk. Something could happen. Maybe the weather changes and it starts raining. I think what distinguishes a pessimist from a realist, one could go wrong, will always go wrong, that kind of mentality. But a realist would be prepared. We're not going to kind of just look forward to it, kind of, oh, it's going to happen. And this paranoia, is missing in the realist. The pessimist might be able to avoid a lot of the pitfalls of, overly optimistic people, but then they're also missing out on a lot of wonderful things.
One thing that I would tweak in my own dad that I think that this is something I don't want to keep is looking at people as if they are tools. You are not in my life to just advance my life or to just fill a gap for a momentary pleasure, whatever it may be. One thing that I want to instill, I honestly, I've been trying my best, is to instill that every person is valuable. I want you in my life. I choose for you to be in my life. And I want to be as equally beneficial to you as you are to me. And sometimes I feel like when I at least hear stories of my dad, hearing the stories of what he was like and so on, at first I kind of thought that was the way forward. Like, that's how you're supposed to be successful. That's how you're supposed to have kids. That's how you're supposed to have marriages. It's just use them. But I have to realize that, again, every person is valuable in their own right. And sometimes relationships, friendships, they all are seasonal. And sometimes they're there and sometimes they're not. That's I guess one of the things that I would definitely want to change and tweak it within my dad.
What are a few things that I would tweak? What are a few things that I would keep? The one thing that I do love about him is the love he has for kids, right? Whether it's his own kids, whether it's not, he does have a genuine love for kids. And I feel like that's probably where I got my love for kids from as well. He does have a love for kids.
You are really good with kids. I must say that.
Right. Thank you. And I think in the last episode, I also said how he is in his 50s, and he does have a last born, and his last born is she's about 6, 5. And that's one thing that I would feel like I could keep for myself, because I feel like he loves kids, I love kids, and that is a plus. One thing I would not want to keep is him not being a present father. And that is why I feel like I have such a huge dislike for guys in this generation, day and age, who are not present fathers. I was talking to TK earlier on today, and I was telling him that a friend of mine told me last week and was telling me about how he doesn't want to have kids at all. This has been like a issue in his relationship as well. And for me, I congratulated him. Kudos to you for knowing what you want and sticking to that. What is the one thing I would tweak? Man. Yeah, we could circle back.
I think it's funny because you bring that up. I would be interested to know from your friend, like, what type of relationship he had with his dad. And did that play into him saying, I don't want to have kids? But I know, like we talked earlier, like, okay, maybe how sometimes terrible the world can be and things like that. But I also wonder if there's any other factors that could have led to that, where him saying, I don't want any children. Like, I'm up front. I'm holding to this. I don't want no kids whatsoever, because I don't want this to repeat itself, that generational pattern, right?
For me, for example, I don't know his relationship with his dad, what it's like and how his walk has been. But we're all Christians here. His dad is a pastor, and he was a PK growing up, and his dad is present. His dad is still a guy who shows up for him, even in his 30s right now. It could be a generational curse that he's trying to break, or it could be a personal thing that he's dealing with. And that's okay, because that is the purpose of this podcast, right? Is to bring all dads from different walks with different mindsets, right? Though you might not be a dad now. Different responses, different tactics, not tactics, but like, you get what I mean, right? From different walks of life, from different people, we had the three of us here. We had other people out there who had different perspectives, different thoughts, different patterns, different battles.
You never know, like, that may be the push that some people need to be like, you know what, I thought like this, and maybe I could change my mind out, because it really isn't that bad, or maybe some other factor that I need to work out to bring me to that point. So I guess, yeah, it'll be really cool to have him on the show one day. And that brings us to our core thought. I'm glad you brought us into that. So, like, the core thought for today is, you don't have to become what you see or what you experience. You can rewrite that blueprint. We don't have to replay those things. We don't have to look at this and say, this is the blueprint to being a dad, so I must follow this. No, you can rewrite that in any way, shape, or form, hopefully with the Lord guiding you and, giving you wisdom along the way. I even say for myself, like, my mom's ex-husband, he grew up in an abusive household. His dad, unfortunately, was an alcoholic, got really sick later on in life with throat cancer from smoking as well, and things like that. But from what I understanding his background was, there was 8 or 9 of them in the house, maybe 10. He would come home and just kind of throw hands on them. And that's what you do.
All 10 of them would catch up.
Not laughing at the pain they went through, but it is crazy to think of having 10 kids. But that's a whole other conversation. Whenever his dad came home, he would beat them. And we believe that when he grew up, he would beat us or me the same way his dad beat him. Because he felt like that was how you raised a man.
That's the blueprint he saw.
That's the blueprint he knew. And so from that blueprint, he tried to build me. And so I didn't really have much of a blueprint to go off of, because I'm just trying to get my senses back in my head after being knocked out. But I had to choose to not follow that blueprint, because there was one time I remember my son was getting on my last nerve. I remember taking that first, like, initial move forward, like to like go out there. And I was like, no. I remember what I felt like when I was going through that. I will never do that to my son. I cannot.
I love that. I actually love the conscious decision you making in the heat of the moment. Because a lot of people will let their anger get the rest of them and then regret later on.
Yeah.
Right? But knowing that this is the young little troublesome creature I brought into this world, and whatever I do has repercussion, whether it's now or in the long run. Exactly. And knowing that, walking with that thought and making a conscious decision every minute.
And unfortunately, that's the crazy thing is, unfortunately, sometimes as guys, we let our emotions and our anger get the best of us. And then we sit in guilt. I can't choose anger first. I can't. I just won't do it. Because I've seen what that produces in somebody like myself. And the hatred, you see, I had to sit with an accent to the hatred that boiled up within me after going through the different types of abuse. Like, man, that was heavy. That was so, as a young child, to walk with that every single day against one or even two people, that I don't want that. I don't want that for my own children. And so I say, you know what? Nope. I leave that alone. I push that on the side. I focus on how can I resolve situations in a more constructive, peaceful manner. And I teach my kids how to control or I guess, dance with their emotions in a different way rather than fighting with their emotions. So if we talk about something to keep that I think my dad did well, is my dad honestly was very good at keeping himself composed. And so I've learned, even just a little bit from him, is in the midst of everything, try to take a deep breath, calm, think about your response. Don't let it just spit out of your mouth. And so I'm trying to teach my kids that too, although it doesn't work.
I'm trying to teach myself. Like, I want to carry such a calm presence because I'm not a calm person at all. Like, I'm a calm person, but not a calm person at all, right? So I'm trying to teach myself. Sometimes excitement gets the best of me. You're saying, and you just get all giddy and stuff, and then and it happens to the best of us, right? And it happens in cases, for example, where as men, as fathers, we don't have a different blueprint to go off of. That's the biggest issue. We don't have a different blueprint that we've seen. And that is where our core thought comes in, which says you don't have to become what you've seen. You can rewrite the blueprint. For me, that just tells me that, listen, what we are doing here with this podcast right now, giving out information of our walks, right? This is accessible to anybody and everybody out here with the thought that they have seen a different blueprint or they have not, right? And lucky for you guys, to our dear listeners, we would encourage you guys to go ahead and subscribe, follow us, make sure that you guys are putting on those notification bells so that every time we do post, you guys get a notification so that you know that a new blueprint is coming out for you to follow. You don't have to follow what you have seen or what you have heard, but you can follow based on other people's experiences as well. You can learn from other people. Other people always usually tell me, you learn from your mistakes. But let me tell you, you can also learn from others' mistakes, right? We have gone through this. We have been in this tedious, heart-wrecking and all of this kind of experiences in lives. And most of you guys might be going through this silently. It can be a silent battle you're facing right now, whether it's abuse from your father, whether it's abandonment from your father, whether it's just that lack of intimacy with your father. Honestly, if you have questions, if you have any, concerns or whatever thoughts you might have, please feel free to drop them down in the comment section down below.
And know that we will be posting on a weekly basis.
That's right.
And hopefully you will get a lot out of this and share with other young men. I think that's really important, is to build some form of a knowledge train or mentorship programs, things like that. We can teach other guys that you don't have to follow that blueprint. Right. You can rewrite that into a better, more effective blueprint.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, and as well as commenting. You never know, some of your comments might actually inspire us to make a completely brand new episode dealing on that topic. Stay in touch.
All right.